What does domain authority mean? This is the Marketing Club. I'm your host, Favor Obasi Ike, and I am super excited to be here with you today talking about a topic that I believe everybody should know and everybody should be aware of. And this is dealing with domain authority. Domain authority is something that has been talked about for a while. And why this is even happening now, or even being a topic of discussion, is because I saw this keyword in my Google Search Console. And that told me that people are searching for this specific key phrase, and they're also trying to understand what this means. So, in the process of trying to understand what this means, they also want to grow and also know how they can build their own system, right? Build their own structure, build their own domain authority. And that takes time, that takes connections, that takes building systems and trying as well to stay on top of the search. Yes, it's good to stay on top of the curve, ahead of the curve, but it's also good to stay on top of search, because this is where activity begins. This is where connections begin. And this is really where building starts, from domain. When you have a house, you start from the house itself before you even bring anything into the house. So, this is really going to be a room that's going to help you understand what it means to have domain authority and what is the value of domain authority. If you've ever thought about domain authority and you don't know what it is, this is how to understand what this really is. I'm going to put a link above. So this is a link to my website. And if you have any questions, click book a call, click podcast, click news, click SEO services, click Pinterest, anything that really interests you, please feel free to click that, and we can get that information going and we can help you get that started depending on what you need, especially when it comes to SEO. Because the domain authority of a platform is super important. It's super important. Why is it super important? Because this domain authority is a score that's going to go up and down in nature. It may go up today, it may go down tomorrow. And this is it's thing about credit, right? With credit, your credit could go up, it could go down, right? You always want it to stay above, a certain level, but you also want to make sure you're maintaining, a good level altogether. So the same thing applies to your domain authority. Now, domain authority is this is my definition of domain authority. Then I'll give you I'll call it the dictionary definition of domain authority. My definition of domain authority is having a place online, because I want to make this very simple. Having a place online that is credible enough for somebody else to value and recommend you. Simple. And that is because you have credibility already and somebody can vouch for you. Someone can vouch for your content. So, domain authority technically is where your business starts to gain connections, with other certain things. Like, how do you build connections? How do you build authority? Where do you even build authority in the first place? Is authority something that is supposed to be looked at? Is it something that needs to be, contained? Is it something that you need to also think about long term as a business? How do I improve my domain authority? Because when you're improving your domain authority, you're improving the longevity of your content, right? Longevity of your content. Because if you're going to spend money on marketing or spend money on advertising, the reason why you're spending money on those things is because you want to still gain relevance, right? You still want to be a person that is connected to. someone else can connect to and say, yeah, this is something I want to understand. This is domain authority. This is what I want to gain. This is what I want to know. And that takes time, right? So for you to have domain authority, it means that you need to have patience. That's a very important section. I'm going to change the link so you can click on the link above. That link will take you to my article. And I wrote this article a while back. So it's still valuable and it's still something you can read, so that if you're not understanding what I'm saying, then you could read the page above to give you more context. Now, domain authority is dominance online. It's like dominance and power, right? Dominance and power, whereby I have the power to do this. You have the power to do that. So if I have the power in my authority, because let's say, let me put it this way, let's say I focus on baking the best cakes, right? It's because I have the best cakes in town, because I have a domain authority online, I'm covering everything from recipes to ingredients to styles to themes to events to tutorials, to resources. All those things are in my domain. PDFs, white papers, checklists. These are things that have resourceful information that people can access over time. Now, if someone can access this over time, it means that somebody is gaining momentum, right? Now, when you have domain authority and you're talking about tools, practices, connections, stories, things that highlight people's day, and people actually need this information, and then they tag you, it's big. I'll give you a very easy example to have an idea of this. When ChatGPT first came out, the first time it came out, I remember I was using ChatGPT around like September, October 2023. And this was when it was still like, coming up. Everybody was like, ChatGPT. This was 3. This was ChatGPT 3. And people were talking about it, right? Now, this is something that was new at the time. Now everybody knows about ChatGPT. Not everybody, but majority. Now, in the beginning, when it wasn't talked about as much, or when it was, not as rampant as it is now, the people who talked about ChatGPT early were able to put that on their website and say, hey, you're looking for this AI prompt tool to do this, click here. When you click here, it takes you to that place, and then that place is the domain that they're connected with. Hey, Dr. Fashion. So you see those connections from the domain to another domain, right? So when you have domain authority, it means you have dominance online. It means that you have connections online. It means that you have credibility online. And that online activity has to come from what you put out. So if we think about it, right now we're in the month of January and the month is almost over. Ask yourself, how many podcast episodes have you released? How many podcast shows? How many videos have you published? How many books have you read? How many blogs have you written? How many clients have you connected with? How many people have you talked to? Like, if you just do a self audit, if you're in business, there's going to be a different shift. You'll feel like maybe it's slow, maybe it's moving fast, maybe it's not even going at all. And it's up to you to decide where you want that boat to sail. So when you think about authority online, it starts off with your business and how you want your business to be seen. And then when other people find you, like the way they were looking for ChatGPT, everyone is writing an article about ChatGPT, and then they're getting linked to chatgpt.com. That's how people started getting to know about it. So if you have a tool, if you have a good practice, if you have a solution, if you have something that people are looking for, then that's how people will connect with you. And then the more traffic signals you get, the more authority you get. The more authority you get, the higher it is as well. So that's definitely where you start seeing all the connections. I was just about to come to you, Dr. Fashion. I don't know if you're available, but I know it's sticky mic. What's up?
No, it wasn't. Sorry, I had dropped myself to the audience because there's, I don't know, it sounds so different from the audience than on stage. It was like a different quality of audio, and it was like this buzzing sound from you.
Buzzing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It sounds
So
so different for me. I don't know why.
does it sound buzzy right now?
Yeah, it does. It does. But I can hear you though. It just sounds super clear and great in the audience. But when I'm on stage, it's like kind of staticky. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mm. But
Oh,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. A lot of, new developments. See, is this better?
Yeah, for me on stage, yes.
Okay, I might just stay like this. And if it's bad for you in the audience, please let us know. If it's good, give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm good. I'm good. It's been really good. I've done a lot of podcast recordings this week, and one thing a lot of people have been asking for is workshops. So that's something I'm planning to do. I don't know when I'll start. I'm because it's already at the end of the month, so I might just do a surprise, next week, and see if people want to join. But technically, I want to have at least two workshops a month, starting next month officially, so that people want to learn about email marketing, or maybe podcasting or website SEO. We can definitely handle that. So that's what I'm trying to work on now.
Well, that's awesome. Also to let you know, your broadcast channel is what got me here because I got notified. And I was like, oh, he's doing a room. So here I am. And just letting you know it
Hey, it
works.
works.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, is this mic on? What you been working on? What's going on in your area? What's going down?
Oh, a lot. I feel like today's going to get crazy. So much stuff. I do have my YouTube masterclass next week. I have a bunch of AI courses releasing. Because for those that don't know, I build out AI influencers. So a lot of people are using those type of things to monetize on social media, but also on YouTube because they're pretty open to AI content. So I have like a whole bunch of stuff dropping. And then also, I talked about my partnership with Microsoft because they have a whole creator program. And some of my influencers that I manage are making more money on there than YouTube, which is crazy because they make good money on YouTube. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. I've seen your AI influencers, and I'm like, this is a whole thing. Like, people still don't know exactly what they do or how they do things, and they don't see it. So it's like, does somebody, okay, let me ask the question this way. What would make someone choose an AI influencer over a micro influencer?
That's a good question. I can speak for myself. For me, I get to build out this persona and it could be whatever I want it to be. The other thing too is for one, you can monetize a lot of digital assets online. So as far as creating like the AI content and stuff is something that is being pushed out there versus like a regular micro influencer. So it really just depends on what you're trying to do. A lot of us are also using it to create like our own animation. It doesn't have to be an AI influencer that look like a person. It could be like a whole character if you want it to be. So we're doing a lot with that, but it's quite interesting because obviously if I was creating content around my AI influencer, you would never see it in person because it's not a real person. So when I was working with Coachella to create AI content for my influencer, nobody can see her, but I had to make sure I was capturing the environment. So when I would go back into post production, I can insert her in that environment. So it's pretty fun, but it's like, once again, it's not a real person. So sometimes people might want to connect with real people. But if you haven't looked at what Google is doing with Google VO2, I think if we look at what is going on now with AI, a lot of that stuff is about to change and they're going to be using more AI to do like product reviews and all that other stuff. So the world is changing And I went to Target it was last year, I believe, and there was an AI influencer on a cardboard in the CoverGirl section with makeup. I was like, is this the AI influencer I saw on Instagram? And she's doing a collaboration with CoverGirl. I saw another one do a collaboration with BMW, and I was on Hulu recently and I saw one on a commercial. I mean, this is where we are right now. So it's tons of ways to make money from it. And the other great thing about having an AI influencer is it doesn't have to be controlled by one person. So you can make as many as you want and have a whole team of people operating it for you. You can't do that with like a real person, right? So just a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think we need to do a I think we need to do a room on this and let people see it and then maybe visually see it because some people may not know how that works. I see it. I know how that could work, seeing how I've seen it through the apps, but some people may not really understand, okay, how will this even make sense in the real world, when it comes to connecting, influencing the actual people, and how the people believe. It's like a whole lot of questions on questions on questions. But I think that's the whole point of getting people involved and getting them interested in what's new.
Yeah, it makes sense. And lastly, we do have like people in my group creating like their own AI influencers for podcasting, which I think is very interesting. Somebody already started where their AI influencer, so basically they were controlling the AI influencer, and every movement they did, the AI influencer did, but it wasn't their face on camera. So they were live streaming on YouTube. So I just thought it was really interesting. Still controlled by a real person, but what you see on camera is not what's behind the screen.
Mm, that makes sense. So it's a whole lot of control, but it's also quality control.
Indeed. And I'll put my video in the chat for anybody that want to take it. Just look into it so you can understand what we're talking about. But there's a lot of things happening. But yeah, back to you, Favor.
Thank you. I've just checked it out right now. How am I not on Creative Life? I just follow Creative
Oh,
Life.
thanks.
I don't. I. You're welcome. I didn't even know you were on Instagram. I knew you were on Clubhouse, but I didn't know. And now I know I'm here now.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Awesome. No, this is super exciting. I'm glad that we're here talking about these things, and it's very interesting. Um, just breaking news. I'm just seeing something which is very interesting. Don Julio and Popeyes having a collaboration. I don't know what they're about to do, but yeah, that's the weirdest collaboration I've seen on the internet. That's new. I don't know. I just saw it on my feed as soon as I checked it. I was like, huh, that's interesting. What do you think that collaboration could mean? Is it Popeye chicken and drinking the Julio? Like, what are we talking about?
It gotta be, because what? That's what I'm thinking. And we're probably going to see more of that because I have seen videos of people like doing both in content. So maybe they saw an opportunity and was like, hey, let's collab. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, these collaborations are getting more spicy. I guess they're getting spicier, if I can put it like that. But it's good. Why I'm even giving you these examples, welcome Drew, Candice, Amanda, and Farnhaz, and Jason. What we're talking about is domain authority. And even these two companies I just mentioned have domain authority on their website. They have websites, right? And because we know them so well, they have a website. If I say Nike or Starbucks or Tesla or any brand, Meta, whatever I want to call, there's going to be a website attached to this name, this brand. It's almost like impossible not to see a website connected. Just name any brand right now you're thinking about, anything that you're thinking right now that you know is a brand that is a strong brand out there, you know that there's a website connected. Now, because the website is connected, it's because you also have good domain authority. Now, that domain authority grows every month, it grows every quarter, it grows every year. And it's not something that grows once. It grows, like, think about it this way. Let me put it this way to make it very simple. If you water your plants, right, your plants will grow, right? If you take care of your plants will grow. And when they grow, they're going to be strong, they're going to be healthy, they're going to be rich in nutrients, right? That's how it is with your website. You have a domain. Your domain is a seed. It's just something that you plant, you paid for, and you renew almost every year or every other year. Now, the domain authority is going to increase based on how you use it. Like with your credit doesn't increase or decrease based on not using anything. Your credit changes because you utilized your credit, right? That's why they call it credit utilization, right? So your domain utilization is the same thing where you connect your domain to Google Search Console, connect your domain to Bing Webmasters, connect your website to Amazon. If you have a podcast, even better. Connect your website to platforms that you're using. Let's say you're using LinkedIn as a company profile. Why is your website not there? If it is, that's a good thing, right? If you're using Instagram, there's going to be a link. That link should put your website there. So anywhere that someone is, your website is pointed to, so that if anyone's looking for your content, they can find everything on your website. If you don't have a website, it's hard for someone to connect with you. It's hard for someone to trust you. If you don't have a resume and you're trying to apply for a job, how will they trust you that you're fit for the job? If I send a request for proposal and I get a proposal back, how will I know that you're fit for that proposal if I don't see your workflow? So that's the same thing that goes into domain authority. So you have to improve your domain authority by improving your content quality and distribution. That's a key factor. Content quality and distribution. Quality from writing the right topics. Like if you see this link above, domain authority versus page authority, what does it mean for SEO? I wrote that article. If you click on it, it will take you to the article, and I want to see when this was written. Yeah, February 8th, 2024. And I updated it June 19th, 2024. That article is still being seen today, a year later, almost a year later, right? You can read this article. Now, the room for today, the topic for today's room came from Google Search Console. Google Search Console told me this is a question people are asking. What does domain authority mean? So what am I going to do? Write an article about this room because I've explained it, and then whoever sees it tomorrow is able to now see, oh, it's ready. It's like saying I'm looking for oranges. I can't find oranges. They tell me, okay, oranges are going to be here tomorrow. I come back tomorrow, and now they're oranges for me to buy. Now, because you said oranges and you didn't buy it, doesn't mean that it's not valuable. It just means it wasn't accessible. But now it's aware to both parties that this is something that people need. So if somebody comes to your website and they type in, I'm looking for social media services, let's say you live in Hawaii, social media services Hawaii, and on your website you have something about social media, but you don't have a dedicated landing page or product page or post page, which is a blog page that talks exactly about social media services in Hawaii. So when you now start focusing on that, then you start getting a click. From clicks, you start getting leads. From leads, you start getting calls. So that's how it starts. If we didn't start a room or start anything, it wouldn't work. If I didn't send, a message to the broadcast channel, some of us won't be here, right? Drew won't be here, Dr. Fashion won't be here. Some of us may not even be here. But I do that just because I know someone might click on that in the hour. They might say, oh, let me see what's going on. Let me tap in. Because that's how connections are made. So eventually someone is going to listen to this and they'll feel like, okay, I'm glad I was able to listen to this, even if it was 10 minutes, 20 minutes, because yeah, I may not be doing it right now, but eventually I may want to learn about how to do it. So understanding these things are very important because we're living in a global world. We're living in a global space. Right now, not everybody is in the same country. Some people may be in different places, and it's going to have a different effect on different people. So that's where your domain authority can grow. Now, if you want to know, this is kind of like a back end, I could call it like a back end workflow, right? I want to give you a back end workflow. This, if this is you, try this out. And welcome, Richard. A back end workflow. If you've never heard of this website before, check it out. It's a free website, and I want you to check it out because, you know, if you know what you know what to do. So I'm going to put a link in the chat. There we go. I'll put the link in the chat. Hey, Richard. That link is called Sender Score. If you've ever heard of Sender Score, put a 1 in the chat. If you've never heard of Sender Score, put a 2 in the chat. Just let me know. If you've heard of it, put a 1. If you've not heard of it, put a 2. If you're close to your phone. All right, so Mrs. Wiz 2 and 2, Richard 1.5. We got to talk about that. Candice 2, Amanda 2, Drew 2. 1.5, Richard, what's up?
I've heard of it, but haven't. I don't know anything about it, so I guess I'm in the middle.
Okay, okay. All right, awesome. So this is something new for us to learn today. I love teaching things that are new because I feel like that helps everybody to understand this. So if you have a domain, if you've purchased a domain before, if you have an active website, if you have a domain that is sending emails, this is a place for you to check out your sender score. Meaning, if you have a sender score of, let me say it this way, if you have a sender score of below 80, that's a problem, right? Now I'm gonna put another link in the chat. It's the same website, but more specifically focused on how to assess your score. Because I want to show you how this works so that you can check this out yourself. It's a free platform, and if you don't see what there are actually 3 categories, and I'm gonna bring that to your attention. So this platform allows you to know whether you're a good sender or a risky sender. That's what it says, based on your reputation, right? And what's your reputation? Your reputation online is focused on 2 things: the back end and the front end. Now, that sounds very vague, but I'm going to explain it. The back end, right, is referring to your technical setup. It's referring to your domain setup. Are you on the right domain hosting platform? Are you on the right website builder? Do you have the right cPanel? That cPanel is control panel. Do you have the right CNAME, which is canonical name? In other words, do you have the right name that people should be calling you? When someone says this is your name, is that the name everybody knows online? That's a very big important decision. Do you have a work email address? When you buy a domain, you got to buy a mailbox. Just like when you have a commercial property, you need a mailbox so that you can receive mail, right? So if you have an online commercial mailbox, that means you have mail that's coming in and mail that's going out. Now, if you're sending emails, this is now where the front end comes in. If you're sending emails and these emails are coming from your domain, which is your back end, because you've connected your DNS records, you've connected your SPF records, that means your sender policy framework records, and all those things are already available to you. So you don't have to Google it, it's just right there in your DNS management records. It's always available to you. And if you need to add anything, it's copy paste. So you don't have to worry about these terminologies. If it's needed, you just apply. If it's not needed, you don't need to worry about it. So if you are sending emails to the front end, meaning that you're sending emails to people to tell them, check out my website, check this product page, check this blog page, check this, check that, check this, check that. These platforms are sent to various IP addresses, right? And within those IP addresses have different communities. So if you, let's say you're a local store and you sell cake, right? You bake cake and you sell cake, and you have a local store, let's say in North Dakota, for example. Anybody that is joining your email list is possibly living in that city or that state or that area or that district. If they really love your stuff, they're probably signing up from outside the state because you probably advertised to them or they found you relevant at some point. But over 80% of your audience will be coming from North Dakota. So if you have authority there, it means that on the back end, you have a domain, meaning that if someone's looking for bakery near me or fresh cake near me, they're going to see your profile on the Google local pack, the 3-pack. They're going to see your website. They're possibly going to see your contact page, right? That's good for them to see. Now, on the back end, you also have content that needs to be delivered, right? You need to make sure that you have the right records, your MX records, your mail exchange records are correct. You have really good insights on how people are connecting with your content. Welcome, Camille. Connecting with your content and doing it in a very specific way, right? So when you're sending out an email, you're sending out an email from the source to another resource. So where's the source? The source is your website. Because if you send an email, if your email is info@yourwebsite.com, then you're sending an email to 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people from the same place, from the same zone, right? So if it goes out and that bounces back, you get people marking as spam, people unsubscribing, emails are bouncing, it's not hitting the inbox. It's starting to get really bad, and at some point, Google is just going to do this to your account. And then you stop getting active news, right? You stop getting active responses. Those are things that kind of stop the flow, and that's not a good thing. So for you to change that, you have to technically look at where your domain is coming from, because when you think about domain authority, you're thinking about power. Like if you think about people in power standing next to each other, right? The association of those people is what increases the power, right? When you think about names, when you hear names and you hear names together, that's power. When you're thinking about two strong teams playing against each other, that's power, right? Because there's going to be a force that's going to be reckoned with, right? There's going to be something that's going to happen. So if you have a website, your website has a domain name, but that domain also has authority because it has brand loyalty. So where does brand loyalty come from? Very simple. If I have a website and I say, okay, I'm looking for an email marketing platform, I choose MailChimp, I choose Aweber, I choose Constant Contact, great. Then on my side, I choose Flowdesk, right? Now, because I have partnered, not because I have officially partnered, but if I've partnered with a company because I'm subscribed to their business, it means that I support their brand and I support their business because I'm subscribed as a paying member to their business. So that means your sender score, back to your sender score, is going to reflect the kind of brand image you carry. So there are 3 categories that you fall into. One category is if you end up having a score above 90, that's a good thing, right? Because it means that when you're sending out emails, you have open rates, click rates that are above like 50%, 60%, 70%. You have really good sender reputation, right? Now, the second category is if you're below 90, that means you have work to do. It means that you're showing up, but you have some work to do. And how you can change that is by adding more base. Like if, let's say, there's no salt in your food and you're cooking or spices, you're going to add more so that the food becomes, you're not going to change the whole pot. You're just going to add spice to the pot so that it can taste better, right? You're going to season it better because you've tasted it from the same place. So same thing applies to your website. If you're realizing you're getting traffic, but it's not enough traffic or it's not enough yielding traffic, then create more pages. Because when you create more pages, it means you have more emails to send and more triggers to fire. And then from there, you start connecting with more people, and now you start getting more traffic, more signals, more reading time, more screen time. Then eventually your domain grows. You can't grow your domain with one article. Someone can get bored reading one article for 52 weeks. So if you have 52 articles, then you have 52 opportunities to connect with people in ways that they're looking for exactly what they're coming for. Now, someone may say 52 may be a lot for some, 52 may be a little for some, but 52 is a really good sweet spot, because if I know that in this area people are looking for socks, let's say they're looking for specific types of socks, right? And I'm selling socks to this specific place. I know that if these people are looking for socks, it's because it's probably cold, or because they like some type of fashion, or there's a sock culture, or there's something to do with socks there, or maybe they're big, warehouses that have socks. Whatever the case may be, because I've done my research, I'm able to now know how to connect with those people, right? I'm not selling people socks that live in Hawaii, because they don't need socks like that, right? They might need socks in a completely different state, right? Because that's where it may be needed, maybe in Alaska. So you think about where you're connecting people online, do the research, and then dominate with your domain. And that's how you're able to really show up online. And there are ways to do it, but how you're able to really know if your domain is really active is using this underscore. So the third group, this is a group I don't want you to be in, but if you find yourself in this group, there's a way to change it. The third group is someone that puts their domain on this website and has no records, because that could happen. You could put your domain there and not have any records. So you're not getting a 90, you're not getting a 70, you don't even have a record to show on screen. That means that there's a lot of things that need to be changed on the back end. And that means technically you need to do a rehaul, or I can call it a renovation. So those are some things to really look into and try it out and see if that works out for you. So for those who put a 2, please try click on the link, put your domain there, and then put in the chat and let us know what you think. Has anyone tried it? Dr. Fashion, Richard, have you tried it to see what you get?
No, I haven't tried it yet though. It's a great topic. You know the numbers behind what your email is. I think it's very important.
Yeah, it's a huge deal, because domain authority is bigger than just the number. It's basically your badge. It's like your badge of honor online. Because if you have a domain authority of 1 or 2 or 3, it's technically saying like, you're 1, 2, or 3 years old compared to somebody else who is 10 years old, 13 years old, because they have more experience. Somebody else who might be 53, 55 will have more experience. So the higher you go in that domain authority, the more credible, the more experience, the more content, the more culture, the more links, the more connections, the more people you've connected with. So it's very important to think about all the things that have to make sense or even happen long term. So these are the things that allow you to be very specific in your niche, and it allows you to also connect with people long term. So don't think about domain authority as it's just a word. Think of it as, what is my place on the web, right? Everybody is on the web. Clubhouse.com has domain authority. LinkedIn has domain authority. Platforms have domain authority, right? Your website has domain authority. If you've never seen what it is, you can check it out. Just type in ahrefs.com, and look for the domain checker, and you'll be able to see what your domain score is. And it tells you what to work on, what to look through. It helps. If you have a podcast, you have a listen score, right? A listen score. A listen score is technically your domain authority. How credible are you for people to listen to? If you hit above 15, 20, that means you have some really good people listening to you. If you hit 30, 40, that's good. The higher it is, the better, right? So that way people are able to connect with you, and that starts getting you opportunities. It starts getting you through the door. It starts getting you to people's, names in the room. People start connecting with you. People start learning from you, because you've started to build connections with them just because of the domain authority that you have. And don't think about domain authority, think about the people you're serving and the kind of content you're producing. It's like when you plant a seed, right, in the ground and you water it, you're watering that seed, you're watering that seed for the whole year. Let's say you've been doing it for 5 years nonstop. Eventually you're going to start seeing some differences, right? Every year is going to look different, but every year feels better because you feel like you're getting closer and closer to that. Eventually that grows, it sprouts, and more people are able to see it. Now that's something that is going to last for a long time. So if you're thinking about domain authority, don't think of it as a means to an end, right? Think of domain authority as your age, like right now. Like the older you get, the wiser you get, right? You're not getting any younger. Now, with domain authority, you could lose something, right? You could lose something on that front because you might be losing authority because somebody else decided not to rank you anymore on their website, or maybe their page got expired or something happened. So it's always kind of like, do I have to depend on someone to have successful domain authority? Not really. It just depends on how much content you give and how well are you giving and how well are people receiving it. Because if you write content for people who are receiving good information, they'll stay. Like, who doesn't love good food? If the food is smelling good, your chances of eating that food are higher than you not even smelling the food at all. So if the food is good, then somebody means that they actually like being in the room. They like the smell, they like the taste, they like the scent, they like the feeling. If you smell good and somebody's sitting next to you, they're gonna feel comfortable. You'll even feel like their body is more relaxed because you've actually kind of put them in a good state of mind, right? So it's the same thing with your domain. If someone sees your domain today, they say, "Oh, I love that article." Tomorrow they see another one. "Oh, I love that article." Before you know it, it's a no-brainer. They just keep clicking it, not because the others are not being seen, but you fed them well enough for them to remember that you're good, right? You remember your grandma's cooking. You remember your mom's cooking. You remember your dad's cooking, your grandfather's cooking. You know how your cooking is, right? If you cook, right? So you know these things because you have been doing them consistently. So domain authority is consistency. So you're building consistency by building relationships with people online, meaning that if I have a podcast episode and I launch this episode and it's on 5 different platforms, then I know that I have 5 plus 1, that's 6. So if I have 100 episodes, that's 100 times 6, that's 600. So now I have 600 links out there because I was able to put out one episode a week for 2 years or 2.5 years. And now I'm able to really see the benefits because now people are connecting with me. I'm getting emails, I'm getting requests for proposals, I'm getting requests for shows. Now things are happening in real time, not because I'm just doing it, but because there's value in that discussion. So this is some things that you have to think about long term so that your domain authority really sticks out to you too. So we have about 16 minutes. I wanted to welcome you, Soda, to the room. Any questions, anything that stands out to you? We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic. Welcome.
Yeah, I have a question. So regarding domain authority, um, do you have any advice for rebranding? If you're rebranding, like, and you need to change your domain, or um, if your domain doesn't fit, like like if you have a podcast and it's under, but your most of your domain stuff is under maybe your name, or I don't know, just anything about rebranding and domain authority. I'd love to hear any insight on that.
Thank you, Soda. That's a great question. Now, I'm going to give you an analogy so that it matches before I even give the answer, and I'm probably going to give you the answer before I say it. So, if you think about, let's say you have a house, right? You just bought a house, you furnished the house. Everybody knows this house. They come for Sunday football games, every Sunday. They know where this place is. because it's furnished, it's well built, it's been there for a long time. People are literally, it's something that's on their calendar, right? Because it exists. That place is filled with so much memories and value and commitment, right? Because it's a place that people frequent. Now, you build another house, maybe next door, and that house hasn't really gotten traction. People don't really know it, but you wanted to have the same experience in that house, but you can't have the same experience at that time because it's going to take a while to get to that same type of experience. So, and what I'm really saying is you can have the same experience on two different domains, but if the one that you want to rebrand hasn't surfaced anywhere, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to change it from this to this, from this domain to this domain, then the people who have never seen this domain will have to get used to it, including the algorithm, including the bots, including the people who are going to see it. So the rebranding may take a little bit of a longer time, but because you already have the roadmap, it should take you a shorter time. In other words, if you're rebranding, of course, you're taking time to understand your audience, what they like, you're being very specific. But because you've gone through this process before, it's not going to take you 2 years. It's something that could take you maybe a year or less because you've been able to cover it. So I wouldn't just jump and completely do a whole new shift because that would be good to do. But if you're ready to do it, then just think about all the rebranding and all the mentions that would have to be different because it will take some time. And by the time it rebuilds, it may be a while, but it's worth the while if you do it correctly. And if you're doing it knowing that there's going to be an audience attraction and also an audience engagement process. So, does that help answer the question, Soda?
Yeah, I like that analogy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's something that is very important to look at domain wise because you're having domains, you're connecting domains, you're building domains, and you're also thinking about what this domain is going to do for you, right? Because you might have a domain today, buy the website tomorrow, and then in a year from now, you're benefiting from that domain because you're running ads, you have display advertising going on, there's a lot of activity happening, and people are connected to you. So it's something that requires consistency, but also tenacity. So that allows you to feel more comfortable if you're doing it for the right reason. And if the right people are going to find your content, then great. If they don't find your content, that means something needs to be worked on. And what needs to be worked on could be a simple tweak. It could be a domain switch. It could be a name change. Those are things that could easily impact what you're doing long term. So if you're thinking about business, your business has to come from a point of discovery, right? And how do you get discovered? If you have, let's say you have three products that are very, very important to you. You have three products. The most you can do with those three products is send them the link to those products, right? Because those are the products they'll click on to purchase, right? Because they'll click add to cart, buy now, and they'll go ahead and purchase it. Now, if you really think about color psychology, right? And this is not a trick question. Someone can put this in the chat. When you're on Amazon, right? This is not a trick question, guys. When you're on Amazon, what color is the add to cart button? Let me see. Is anyone going to put it in the chat? What color is the add to cart? If you're on Amazon and you've bought something, what is the color? It's not blue. It's not blue. Yellow? Yes. Yes. Yellow. Correct, Soda. Yellow. Now, it's yellow, and if you think about these colors, they're very, very specific, right? Yellow is a color that most people kind of ignore, but it's a color that exudes happiness, right? So when you're hitting that add to cart, shop now, on Amazon, that color is giving you some type of enthusiasm, right? Because it has a very sharp color to it, right? Now, why am I giving you this example? Amazon is orange, right? But they use yellow for the buttons. So even the color palette, right, is also on a very, I'll call it a hungry state, because when you think about all these food companies, they have, red, orange, yellow. That's really, that's the colors, because it shows urgency, it shows happiness, it shows community, it shows trust. If you think about emails that you send out and you use a yellow button, if you use an orange button as opposed to a gray button or a brown button, you get more clicks. It's something that's very subjective, so try it out. These are things that are going to help you gain domain authority, because when people see those things and they like it, they'll remember. Sometimes we don't even know what colors those things are, because we do them so much we kind of forget. It's not even a thing to think about. So your mindset is completely focused on giving people quality, because the domain authority that you're giving them has to come from a standpoint of success. It has to come from a standpoint of understanding. So if you have a domain and you want to build authority in 2025 and beyond, your goal should be to focus on quality control and content distribution. When you can do those two and you start giving people more information, more content, more pictures, more videos, more audios, more clips, more infographics, more text, eventually they'll feel connected and want to connect back. But if you don't say anything, they won't say anything at all. It's some people just are like that. Some people you have to say hello to get a hello back. Some people, if you don't say hello, you're not getting that hello at all, because some people just don't interact like that. Some people need to be connected to or spoken to, for that to happen. So your goal is not to just write content for content's sake. It's so that people can connect with you and learn about what you do. So that if you have any content pieces that people have, whether it is a song, a book, a poem, if it's, a game, if it's a line, a quote, whatever it is, someone's going to read that somewhere. And for you to get that read, and read in a way that somebody feels connected to it, there has to be value applied. And that value is coming from a place of intent, which is your domain. So I hope you understood today what domain authority means and how to apply it and where it's coming from, and use that, long term. I've given you also a new tool called senderscore.org. Check that platform out and see what it does for you, and just check your score, because if you want to change that score and make it better, the link is above. You can get on a call with me and we can talk about what you need, and then you'll be redirected to see where the prices are, and then we can talk from there on our call and get to see how your business can flourish in 2025. So I'm really excited about doing rooms like this, and it's so good to be back as well on the app. Soda, Richard, I know Dr. Fashion is on the call. Any questions, any contributions? We'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? We got 5 minutes or less to go. So I'll toss the mic up. Yes, Richard.
We're 3 weeks into the year already, which is about 6% of 2025 is already gone. So if you haven't achieved at least 6% of what your aspirations are for 2025, take some action. Call favor, do something different. Albert Einstein's definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So get out of your comfort zone. It's hard for everybody, and make 2025 the best year yet so far.
Thank you, Richard. That is so true. We don't have time on our hands. We think we do, but we don't. So the more we're able to utilize what we have available, the faster we can achieve it. So this was so good. Thank you so much for that input. Soda, anything you'd like to say before we go?
This is great from what I listened to, and I'm excited to meet with you in a few hours for a session.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Looking forward to that session. Thanks again for being here with us today, Soda. Dr. Fashion, I know she said she might be away, so you can blink your mic if you're available, but I know she might not be. But I really appreciate you for being here today. And Drew as well, Amanda, Michael, Mrs. Wiss, and Assel. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. We're going to be here again. I might do an SEO Sunday. I haven't done one this year. And this is the last, yeah, we have the last Sunday of the month is on Sunday. So I might want to do an SEO Sunday just to, bring things back. But I'll keep you guys informed. But until then, thank you. Have a blessed day. God bless you all. Take care. And I'm going to see you guys in the Clubhouse streets.